Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 7th Technical Committee meeting. Members, please turn your cameras on during the roll call and also for the voting items. This meeting is being recorded. If anyone should experience difficulties during the meeting, please send a message in the chat box. At this time, Rebecca will start the roll call to determine member participation. Rebecca?
Good morning, City of Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Here.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Here.
Carroll County,
Here.
Harford County,
Here.
Howard County, Queen Anne's County,
Here.
MDOT,
Here.
MDE.
Here.
Thank you. MDP, MDOT MTA, and MDOT SHA.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Our first item is approval of the minutes from the technical committee meeting from September. Have members had a chance to review the minutes? Can I have a motion and second to approve?
Howard County moves to approve.
Thank you, Dave from Howard County.
Anne Arundel County will second.
Thank you, Brian from Anne Arundel County. We will now vote on approval of the minutes. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rebecca. The September minutes are approved. We will now consider a request to amend the TIP for two MTA projects. This is to add funding to existing projects, bus and paratransit vehicle overhaul and replacement, as well as zero emission infrastructure and rolling stock. Mr. Keith Kucharek will start the presentation. Keith?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Angie. As mentioned in Resolution 26-9, MDOT MTA is requesting to amend two projects in the FY 26 to 29 TIP. The bus and paratransit vehicle overhaul replacement project and the zero emission infrastructure project and rolling stock project. These amendments were reviewed by the ICG and have been determined to be exempt according to the conformity rule. And Ms. Brittany Rolfe from MTA will present the details of these projects. So, thanks.
Thanks, Keith. Hi, I'm Brittany Rolfe. I am subbing in for Albert Engel today. I am the Assistant Manager in Baltimore Regional Planning with MTA. And with that, we'll get into it. So like Keith said, the two TIP amendments we're proposing today are for the projects, the bus and paratransit vehicle overhaul and replacement project, and the zero emission infrastructure and rolling stock project. Next slide. So MTA is committed to procuring new buses to support fleet capacity requirements and to replace aging equipment. The bus and paratransit vehicle overhaul and replacement project includes routine replacement of buses past their useful service life, proactive repair and replacement of bus components at key points in the vehicle's life, including those listed here, and the purchase of paratransit vehicles under MTA's mobility program. Next slide. So this amendment would add 40.7 million in CMAQ funds, 1.7 million in Section 5339 funds, and 8.5 million in matching state funds for construction in fiscal year 26. Most of these funds were previously anticipated to obligate in fiscal year 25, but will now obligate in fiscal year 26 due to the timing of the transfer of the funding and the change in the fiscal years. So the estimated total cost will increase from 70.9 million to 121.8 million. Next slide. All right, so these next couple slides give you an overview of the changes in the funding. So this looks at the change in 5307 funding. The top row is the original funding amounts. The bottom row is the updated amounts in the amendment, and the changes are highlighted in green. So you can see for the 5307 funding, the changes for construction and state funds are shown highlighted in green. And there will be a summary slide at the end here. Next slide. So here we see the CMAQ funding changes. Again, the top row is the original, and the bottom row are the updated funds and the amendment. So you can see the change in CMAQ funding and in state funds highlighted in green for construction. All right, for the 5339 funding, original amounts on the top row, updated amounts in the bottom row, again showing changes in construction funding highlighted in green for state funds and section 5339 funds. So here is a summary of what we just looked at. If you looked at the bottom right table, it summarizes the changes in funding. So for 5307 funds, it adds about $2,000. CMAQ funds adds about $46,000, and 5339 adds about $2,000. Next slide. All right, so for the second project amendment, the zero emission infrastructure and rolling stock, MTA is modernizing its fleet to include zero emission buses, and this project includes the purchase of battery electric buses and hybrid electric buses. The transition also requires the installation of charging infrastructure. Next slide. So this amendment will add about 22 million in carbon reduction or carbon reduction program or CRP funding for construction in fiscal year 26, and about 14 million in fiscal year 26 for construction. The funds will be used for the purchase of the zero emission and hybrid buses and other electric bus infrastructure. CRP funding was amended into the fiscal year 25 to 28 TIP, but was not obligated due to the timing of the transfer of the funding and the change in fiscal years. So the estimated total cost is about 168 million. Next slide. Again, we'll show the detailed breakdown in the updated funding. The top row shows the original, bottom shows the updated funding in green, so you can see that for CMAQ and state funds for construction. Next slide. Top row, again, the original, bottom row, changes in CRP and state funding, shown in green for construction. And the summary, again, in the bottom right table shows the new funding. So for federal funds, this amendment would add about 31,000. State funding would add about 5,000, and that comes to a total of about 36,000 in new funding. Next slide. All right, so that's it. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I will do my best to answer. If not, I can follow up with Albert and Keith to provide any answers.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Angelica.
I now ask for a member to move for approval of Resolution 26-9 and then a second.
Anne Arundel County will move for approval.
Thank you, Brian from Anne Arundel.
And Howard County will move both second.
Thank you, David from Howard. Do any technical members have any further questions or comments regarding this resolution? We now ask if members of the public have any questions or comments on the resolution. If so, please indicate you would like to comment in the chat box. Regina, do we have any comments?
I do not see anything at this time.
Thank you. We will now vote on approval of the resolution to amend the TIP for the two MTA projects. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, can you please read down the list?
Sure. Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rebecca. The resolution has passed. We will now consider a request to amend the TIP for 3 SHA projects. This is to add funding to these existing projects, Maryland 2, Maryland 3, and I-97. Keith will introduce the amendment.
Thank you again. In Resolution 26-10, MDOT SHA is requesting to amend 3 projects, as Angie mentioned. The first project is the Maryland 2 from US 50 to Arnold Road. The second project is Maryland 3 from Wall Chapel Road to Maryland 32. And the third project is I-97 from US 50 to Maryland 32. All 3 of these projects will be adding funding for design, utility relocation, right-of-way, and construction. So there's a variety of funding being added. All 3 of these projects are currently listed as not exempt for their conformity status. However, these amendments are only adding funds, and there are no scope changes to the projects. So the ICG did review these projects and determined that since there was no scope changes, they did not have to go through the formal 30-day review process, or need to be modeled again. So they approved the amendments as is. And Mr. Joe Lombardo from SHA will present the details of these projects.
Keith, thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Lombardo. I'm the interim regional planner at SHA RIPD consultant. So for the first one, it's Maryland 2, US 50 to Arnold Road. This is to increase funding for the project in FY 26 through 29 to TIP. An amendment basically adds funding for design, as right-of-way, and utilities. Next slide, please. So the work being done, it basically to improve safety, accessibility, and operations northbound Maryland 2. It also provides continuous 3rd lane and sidewalk along northbound Maryland 2 from Chautauqua Road to Arnold Road. And lastly, provides sidewalk along Arnold Road from the Baltimore-Annapolis Trail to Maryland 2. Next slide, please. So as stated, this amendment will add design funding, right-of-way, and utility phases using the National Highway Performance Program, NHPP funds, which is an 80-20 split. It's 80% federal, 20% local match. For PE, it's $3.72 million. That's $2.98 million for federal and $740,000 local match. For right-of-way, it's $800,000. That divides between $640,000 and $160,000 for the local match. And utilities, which is $1 million, so $800,000 for federal and $200,000 for local. That's all I have for Maryland 2. And for Maryland 3. Yeah, this is to increase funding for Maryland 3, which is I-97 Maryland 32 to Wall Chapel Hill Riedel Road. In FY 26-29 TIP. And so this again, funding is added towards design, right-of-way, and utilities phases. So we can go to the next slide. So there are 4 areas that we're focusing on for funding: improves safety, accessibility, and operations along Maryland 3, provides third continuous lane in each direction along Maryland 3. It provides a shared use path along Maryland 3 from Maryland 175 to Wall Chapel Road, Riedel Road, which is connection to the South Shore Trail. And lastly, provides sidewalk and crosswalk improvements at Maryland 3, Maryland 175 intersection. We can go to the next slide. So the funding will add again, design, right-of-way, utility. This is also available through the National Highway Performance Program, which again is an 80-20 split. So for PE, it's $1,260,000 total, with $950,000 federal and $310,000 for the local match. For right-of-way, it's $6,190,000 total. For the federal, that's $4,950,000, and for local, it's $1,240,000. And lastly, for utilities, a total of $2 million. For the federal, it's $1,600,000, and for the local match, it's $400,000. That's all for there. And lastly, for I-97, so again, to increase funding from US 50 to Maryland 32 in FY 26-29. And this is for design, right-of-way, utilities, and construction phases. We go to the next slide. So three aspects of funding for this: to improve safety, operations, and mobility along I-97, widens I-97 to 6 lanes, and also install ramp modifications at US 50, US 301. The next slide, please. So again, to add design funding, right-of-way, utility, and construction phases, also through the National Highway Performance Program, also an 80-20 split, as mentioned before. For the engineering, it's 7 million. For the federal, it's 5,600,000. For the local match, it's 1,400,000. For right-of-way, it's a total of 800,000. For the federal contribution, it's 640,000. For local, it's 160,000. For utilities, it's a total of 2 million. For the federal share, it's 1,600,000, and for the local match, it's 400,000. And for construction, 100 million, 80 million federal, and 20 million for the local match. That's all for these projects. I'm happy to address any questions if you'd like to email me, but that concludes.
Thank you, Joe.
Sure.
I now ask for a member to approve Resolution 2610 and then a second.
Baltimore City moves to approve.
Thank you, Sean. Baltimore City.
Queen Anne's County will second the motion.
Thank you, Queen Anne's County. Do any technical members have any further questions or comments on this resolution? We now ask if members of the public have any questions or comments. Regina, anything in the chat box?
No activity in the chat box.
Thank you. We will now move to vote on the approval of the tip for these 3 SHA projects. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, can you read down the list, please?
Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. The resolution has passed. Next, we will move on to UPWP updates. We will be providing an update on incident management and traffic signal activities by Eileen Singleton. Eileen?
Thank you. Good morning. And let's see. Okay, hope you can all see my screen. Yep. Okay, great. So I am going to give you a few updates this morning on some things I've been working on, recognizing Crash Responder Safety Week, an update on a BRTB Regional Traffic Signal Forum joint with ITS Maryland annual meeting, and a recent regional resilience stakeholder meeting. So the first one is a BRTB proclamation recognizing Crash Responder Safety Week, which will be this year, November 17th to 21st. This is something that Federal Highway started back in 2016. It had a different name. It's changed to Crash Responder Safety Week, but the idea is the same, to elevate responder safety. And each year there's a theme. This year's theme is Safety Starts With You, Slow Down and Move Over. And as we know, responders are vulnerable users on the roadways. Last year, at least 46 responders were struck. We're sure that that number is low, and so far this year, 20 have been struck nationally, not in Maryland. But still, it's a high number, and we're working to try and reduce that. So Crash Responder Safety Week is an opportunity for all agencies and also for the BRTB to raise awareness that every emergency responder and every driver has a responsibility for traffic incident scene safety. And so this year, BRTB will again join dozens of agencies across the country to issue a proclamation to support Crash Responder Safety Week. And the BRTB will we'll vote on this, approving this proclamation at the October meeting later this month. And just a reminder that the BRTV Traffic Incident Management for the Baltimore Region Committee has been working since 2000 to advance responder safety through training, meetings, conferences, resources, and awareness efforts. And if anyone has any questions about the committee anytime, let me know. This just has a summary of Crash Responder Safety Week and the focus on reminding drivers about the importance of keeping responders safe and reminding responders to focus on safety. The next item is the joint ITS Maryland annual meeting and held with the Regional Traffic Signal Forum on November 21st. And the BRTB Traffic Signal Forum has been held biennially with the annual Intelligent Transportation Society of Maryland annual meeting. And so this year is one of those years. So the Regional Traffic Signal Subcommittee has been providing input as well. The draft program is on this screen. We've gotten some more information filled in, but there are the morning breakout sessions and afternoon breakout sessions. One is dedicated to more signal focused topics, and the other one is broader ITS and operations type topics. It will be held at the Maritime Institute again this year. Early registration runs until October 24th, and local jurisdiction staff from our region can attend for the free registration if you register by October 24th. And the link to the tickets is on the screen. Every year it's a good event, and especially combining it with the Traffic Signal Forum, it's a great opportunity for folks to network and learn more about signals and what's going on in the region, in the state, and nationally. The last item is a regional resilience stakeholder meeting, which we held September 30th. I worked with Anna Marshall to convene local and state regional climate resilience stakeholders to learn more about ongoing work about what's going on, what we're doing and what's going on with them, and identify if there are any potential gaps or projects that we might be able to work on. So we provided an overview of our regional resilience work, and I have a link to the webpage that has some of that. And then some of the attendees from local jurisdictions and state agencies talked about what they were doing, and then we had a pretty good discussion about different ideas. So we haven't finalized the minutes yet, so we don't have specifics, but in general, the group thought it was helpful to meet periodically and kind of follow up on some of the projects that we've done, that we did regionally related to climate adaptation, and we have ongoing mitigation, climate resilience, the emissions work, and the CPRG work. So there was interest in continuing to meet and learn more about what folks are doing, potentially identify a UPWP project that could help fill some gaps. And I think during the meeting, the attendees learn more about what folks were doing, and we'll get in touch with each other to be able to collaborate and coordinate more. So any questions on that, you can follow up with me and Anna. And any questions in general, feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Next, we will have Zach continue the Region Next discussion of LRTP tasks. Zach?
Yes, good morning. Second. All right, are you seeing presentation mode on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so it's fairly short and sweet this morning for the LRTP, known as Region Next 2025. We are continuing work on branding, graphic design, as well as a public engagement plan. So we have
Zach, I apologize to interrupt. You're
Okay.
on the last slide. We're not seeing the first slide.
Oh, that is weird.
Ah, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Here.
At your email screen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had to go into presentation mode. Got it?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. So, again, we're continuing to work on graphic design and public engagement. We have a draft logo that we've been working on with a consultant. We may make some tweaks to this, but we were happy with this design and the color palette and whatnot. So that's the progress there. I wanted to share revisions from the technical committee comments on the goals and strategies. We had a number of comments. First, transit verbiage. There was a comment that transit verbiage should make clear the importance of providing reliable travel, not just for bringing other riders in and reducing SOV use, but also making sure that travel is reliable for current transit users. So we amended one of the accessibility strategies to emphasize that we should also enhance existing transit services for current users. There was another comment. There are a number of focal populations that we have in the LRTP: older adults, low-income families, carless households. And there was a recommendation to also include younger people within that group of focal populations to ensure that they're not isolated and can get where they need to go. And so we added young people to the list of focus populations in 3 strategies that list those populations and made those consistent. Accessibility strategy A, promote prosperity and economic opportunity, and one of the strategies related to getting everyone involved and working together. There was a comment referencing technology and that we don't specifically discuss adaptation to or finding uses for AI. So for example, MTA is migrating to a cloud transportation system priority, and they plan to use machine learning, or that system rather will use machine learning to run more reliably. So we added a reference to artificial intelligence, as well as planning for the potential effects of these technologies, knowing that there may be some negative aspects as well, to one of the strategies related to promoting informed decision-making. There was a comment that the improve accessibility definition, the destinations that people are accessing, should include services. And so we added that to the definition for improve accessibility. There was a comment that there was no mention of transportation demand management, though it was implied. So we added to one of the strategies for improve accessibility, provide affordable transportation options and choices to ensure people can access jobs, food, etc. Now you'll notice that we didn't actually use the acronym or the spelling out of transportation demand management there. That's to keep it as plain language as possible, knowing that a lot of folks that may be reading the goals and strategies won't be familiar with that concept, though you all are, and to try to just emphasize the concept without using a term that people might not know. Same thing for transit-oriented development. TOD is implied in some of the strategies, but it wasn't explicitly mentioned. Tried to make it a little bit more explicit, again, not using the acronym, in one of the strategies for promote prosperity and economic opportunity. One of the strategies relates to considering housing affordability and workforce economic development planning when determining long-range priorities. Originally, it had said such as the proximity of housing and jobs. We added the proximity of housing, transit, and jobs, knowing that there's an importance to kind of locate some of those things where it makes sense to shorten trips and open up travel options for folks. Okay, in terms of next steps, we are reconsidering and delaying the goals and strategies comment period and the plan launch while we continue to coordinate with MDOT on the financial forecast. So we have started discussions with the state and have some questions about the amount and the timing for the financial forecast and may not have it in hand soon. And so given that financial uncertainty, we're reconsidering the launch of the plan until we get some more clarity on how much we think might be available for projects. So more to come certainly there soon, but for now, we're not planning an October launch or a November launch of the goals and strategies in the plan. In the interim, we're going to continue working on like branding items, public engagement, and also we'll begin reviewing the scoring methodology. You'll recall that a couple months ago, there were a series of presentations on our transportation needs assessment project, which included a survey and focus groups on transportation system users' needs and priorities related to the transportation system. At that time, we weren't finished with the video, but there was also a short video that was created as part of that project highlighting a few of the focus group participants. And so today we wanted to share that video with you now that we have the final product. So let me get that going. And let me know if there's an issue, but this should share smoothly.
I would say that overall, like, it works just fine. Since I'm mostly using like one or two modes, I can't speak for the totality of it, but driving is the like dominant mode that I use. So, you know, that's working for me. I get where I need to in like a timely manner.
I think it works well enough as someone that owns a car. You know, it's definitely made for cars. So it's, if you meet that threshold, it's very easy to get around. If you don't drive, if you choose something else, it definitely gets a lot harder to get places. Biking is much harder than driving, even though it's, you know, a 15-minute bike ride. It might be going on a 45-mile-an-hour road, and then people are going 50, 55 plus, and then, you know, you're on a shoulder that's this wide. So it's not great for that.
It's hard to be a pedestrian in Baltimore City. In fact, it's a little dangerous to be one these days. And that's the biggest challenge that I find. I've been on the highways, you know, like riding in others' cars, and sometimes the traffic is horrible and sometimes it's smooth. But I think the biggest thing is the safety for pedestrians and also cyclists.
What will really make the decision for me is going to be a matter of time and energy. I'm autistic and I am also disabled, so I really have to be judicious about where I put my time and energy every day. And my bus stop is a 12-minute walk away from me, 15 on Google Maps, but I can usually do it in 12. And if I wake up that day and I already know it's going to be a rough day and I look at that 12-minute walk, again, I have to choose where I put my time and energy. So at that point, 12-minute walk is not going to be feasible in comparison to the rest of the day. I have to go with the Uber.
The system works for me okay. I'm a laid-back person, but there definitely can be a lot of improvement as far as the, you know, sidewalks, roads can be improved, as well as the transit system. I would say more buses or a different schedule. Definitely, I know I get off maybe about 10 or 11 o'clock at nighttime, so it's not as more buses on the roads. So I would say I would need more transportation at nighttime.
It's a total mystery whether or not a bus is going to come and what time frame it's going to come. I generally feel safe on the bus, but I don't feel secure about the length of time it's going to actually take me to get someplace. And I understand once I'm on the bus, traffic is going to be what the traffic's going to be. And that trip could take longer if you've got a half a dozen people that get on that are, in wheelchairs. Or you've got people that need to attach their bike to the front of the bus or something. I can appreciate that. That's part of the nature of that cooperative form of transit.
The biggest challenge that I face, like when I'm traveling to different places, mostly is just congestion and traffic. And so one of the reasons I was really eager to be able to take the light rail to work is so I wouldn't have to drive through Baltimore City during peak hours to avoid hitting that rush hour traffic. It's been really convenient to be able to take the light rail from the stop closest to my house and then just ride that up, since it bypasses traffic. It's been really great for me.
If the transportation system improved, I think the impact on my life would be amazing, honestly. I do enjoy taking the bus, and I think it would help me a lot to be able to get to places on time, reliably, giving more opportunities that were previously denied to me. I think it'd be fantastic. And it would also help, the rest of my community to not be so worried about me when I have to take the transportation.
Just opens up a lot more opportunities to be safer, and then environmentally as well, less pollution, both local air quality and overall CO2 emissions and other greenhouse gases. So that's a good thing. I think people in general would be a lot happier if they weren't stuck in cars.
This is what we need to get to and fro, to get our, doctor visits or grocery stores, get our groceries. And if you do that, that will bring more people to our city that will want to live here compared to the other big cities like New York or Chicago. They will see that, hey, Baltimore or Maryland is doing good. I want to live there too.
I think it would be amazing if people could get out and explore what neighborhoods look like. I like to do that, but it brings growth wherever you go. If people can get to Canton, it's some cool things there. If people can get to Columbia, there are cool things there. So I think but especially into Baltimore, I think it would bring investment if it's easy to get in and get out without a car. I just think it would be good for Baltimore and good for its residents.
All right. So anyway, that was the transportation needs assessment video. I think they did a great job, and it does a good job of adding some storytelling and a personal face to some of the statistics and whatnot that were highlighted within the survey. So we do want to make these tools available, the video, the research report, the transportation needs assessment report. We had been planning to add links to all those products when we launched the LRTP site, but now we haven't done that since the delay of the launch of the LRTP is kind of being reconsidered. So we do want to make these available, including the video, and we'll find a way to do that. But anyway, that is all I have for you this morning.
Thank you, Zach. Awesome video.
Great. Glad you enjoyed it.
As the Bikeable Baltimore Region Plan moves toward a resolution in November, Charlene Mingus will provide the technical underpinnings to this major effort to develop a regional active transportation network. Charlene?
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. I'm the Active Transportation Planner at BMC, the project manager for this initiative. Just wanted to present an update to you all and get into a little bit more detail with the technical aspect. So next slide. Bikeable Baltimore Region is a plan to create a safe and connected and comfortable bike network that serves the entire region. The goal is to provide people of all ages and abilities with safe, accessible bike routes to essential destinations, including public transit, schools, jobs, and parks. So in 2024 and 2025, on behalf of the BRTB, BMC worked with community members, advocates, and government partners at the local, regional, and state levels to identify this network. So this BBR network will link communities across the region. Go back one slide, sorry. The project vision defines the broad ambitions driving the BBR plan. And so this was developed in collaboration with the project steering and advisory committees. And the vision is that the Baltimore region will work together to create a bike network that expands opportunities for users of all ages and abilities, and that the connected network will support improved safety, mobility, access to jobs, schools, housing, transit, parks, and other daily destinations. Next. And then we also have goals that were identified by the project team and committees and adjusted based on public feedback. These goals are specific aspirations that will advance the vision and feed directly into other elements of the plan. So next slide. What is the BBR plan? So this plan relies on local plans that have been developed and approved. It identifies connections that best support a safe regional bike network and provides recommendations and performance measures. It does not propose new infrastructure that are not in local plans. So anything including the regional network must already be in a local plan. So it will not replace local priorities or override community input. Next slide. What is the need for a regional bike network? With the goal of the network to create a safe, connected, and comfortable bike network comes from understanding that biking is an essential transportation option for the region, and it can expand access to employment, support healthier lifestyles, reduce environmental impact, and contribute to long-term economic growth across the region. And as I mentioned, we know many cities and counties across the region already have local plans to improve biking infrastructure. What the BBR plan does is build upon that work by coordinating and connecting these efforts into a comprehensive regional network for people throughout the region. So next slide. Designing a bike network of this size requires collaboration, transparency, and community input at every step. From the beginning, we have been fortunate to work alongside residents from every part of the Baltimore region. Next slide. This includes the advisory and steering committees. We sincerely appreciate the time, expertise, and thoughtful input shared by the BBR steering and advisory committee members. Their thoughtful collaboration has been essential to advancing the vision of the bikeable Baltimore region. And these participants include community representatives, as you can see, a pretty long list of people from throughout the region where they provided input on the project, offered guidance, and shared their personal experiences. And then next slide, or about their organization. And then also we had our steering committee, which consisted of representatives from different departments at local jurisdictions in the state. They provided technical representation and vetted recommendations, and also helped us expand the reach of the project by reaching out to their communities and departments. So next slide. There were two main community engagement phases. The listening phase, which ran from May to July 2024, and focused on asking residents to share their thoughts on what a safe, comfortable, and accessible bike network should include. And then next, there was the presenting phase, which was held from November to January. So you can do next slide. We shared the draft network and asked the public for their feedback. So I'm kind of zipping through these because you've seen them before, but we wanted to make sure the slide information was there. Next, we did community interviews, which you can see, I believe, on the next slide there, from May 2024 to May 2025. We visited locations across the region to hold pop-up interviews and connect directly with the community. And we actually spoke with 168 people about why they do or do not bike and what changes would make biking easier, safer, and more appealing. So I want to give a shout out to Miriam Sultan, our multimodal planner at BMC. She led that initiative and did many of these 168 interviews. So you can see those, I think, next slide. And throughout this plan, you'll see quotes and photos from these conversations, and they reflect their real voices and experiences that have helped shape this work. So on the next slide, to prepare for identifying a regional network made up of comfortable and safe bike facilities and roadways, the project team looked at how things are now in the region and then asked the following questions. So you can see those on the next slide. We looked at where are short trips more likely or demand, where is the existing bike network now, where are the region's most vulnerable communities, and where can people comfortably bike now for bicycle level traffic stress, and then where are bicyclists involved crashes happening. So next slide. These are some examples of the maps that were created from this data analysis, including the short trip opportunity areas, which were based on the state's STOA analysis, which we're really grateful to get to use their work to help build up this work analysis, and then the bicycle level traffic stress analysis, which is also building upon the state's great work on that. So next slide. To identify the BBR network, each segment was analyzed to determine which routes are the most important for supporting safe and convenient regional travel. This process combined data analysis with community input to ensure the network reflects both technical priorities and real-world needs. So initial efforts focused on identifying the low-stress bike routes that strengthen connections in key areas, including those short trip areas, vulnerable communities, parks and green spaces, and public transit locations. And then public input and collaboration with local jurisdictions played a key role in refining that network. As we know, we've heard that stakeholders consistently highlighted the need for a continuous low-stress system that connects neighborhoods, major destinations, and public transit. And they emphasize the importance of closing gaps and making uncomfortable corridors safer and more inviting. So next slide. What came out of this work is the Bikeable Baltimore Region Network. As you can see on this map, it's a little hard to see at this level with the detail, but we have detailed maps that we'll have available when we launch to the public, and we'll also have a story map where people can use interactive maps to zoom in and out. So next slide. The BBR network includes 330 miles of existing bikeways, 782 miles of planned bikeways for a total of 1,112 bikeways for the network. So next slide. Bikeway types, the network segments were divided into regional bikeways, which are link across the region, community bikeways that connect major centers with this regional network, and then local bikeways that link our neighborhoods and low stress streets to the larger network. So all these bikeways, except for something I'll discuss on the next slide, the high stress bikeways, all these bikeways here were classified as comfortable, low stress routes intended for people of all ages and abilities. Next slide. So we also identify potential improvement areas to kind of look into as we move forward, as local jurisdictions advance plans and updates. So we looked at opportunities to strengthen the network, and these included the high stress bikeways. And so these are routes that may feel uncomfortable or high stress right now as they are planned or existing, but they could provide key connections if they're updated to a lower stress network. And then there were also network gaps that you can see with the dashed lines and the kind of circles or ovals. And these are areas with no existing or planned bikeways in local plans, but where new bike lanes or paths could improve connectivity. So next slide. Great. Next was implementing and prioritizing the network. So we can go to the next slide. And let's see, the BBR network will be implemented cooperatively throughout the region. And we know that meaningful community engagement is essential before designing or constructing new bike lanes or paths, and that context matters. So as the network sections are considered for design or construction, project sponsors, whether local jurisdictions or the state, will hold public meetings and comment periods to ensure that plans best serve the community. Next slide. With prioritizing the network, completing the BBR network will require about 780 miles in new bike lanes and paths. And to help organize this effort, projects were categorized based on project status to determine their current level of planning, design, or construction progress, as these projects have received the most investment and are likely to move forward first. The remaining projects were scored to determine which prioritization category they should be included. So that'd be more of a medium and then long-term categories. Next slide. Projects with the concept plan, feasibility study, design underway, or that are already under construction were classified as filling priority gaps with an imminent project subcategory for the most advanced projects that are expected to begin construction within 2 years. The remaining projects were scored to determine whether they should be assigned to the network expansion opportunities with construction expected between 5 to 10 years or to the full network build out category, which is the more long-term category. And you can see that in the map here and then on the chart below, giving the various mileage for each one. And then next slide. So projects were defined based on the most recent planning, design, or construction information. That's how we define the project extents and names. Also, historically, BMC has worked with local jurisdictions to complete a yearly update of the existing and planned bike facilities inventory for the region, where we've gathered information so we can have a regional data set to share with our members. We are now tracking the status of bike facilities in more detail, including noting progress of concept plans, the feasibility studies, design milestones, and construction start and end dates. So tracking these elements allow the team to categorize the projects for the filling priority gaps and imminent project categories. Sources include member updates at BPAC meetings, our local bike advisory commission meetings, as well as jurisdiction engineering, rec and park, and planning project tracking websites. So next slide goes into prioritization scoring. So to determine if projects should be assigned to the network expansion opportunity, so that's the 5 to 10 year category, or full network build out category, which is the 10-year plus category. Planned projects were scored based on connectivity, demand, vulnerable population, recreation, transit, network gaps, comfort, safety, and if it's a regional connection. And next slide. Great. So this is kind of giving an overarching framework on how these different elements we've talked about connect. So the vision supports the goals, are supported by the goals and objectives, which feed into the performance measures, and then the criteria, or which are the method to select recommendations. Were drawn from input, and data analysis, while the project and policy recommendations support the project vision and feed into performance measures that help us track the progress of the network. So next slide, we'll get into a little more detail on these supportive recommendations. So they're intended to support the advancement of the BBR network, and they include various kind of topic areas, including data, design, education, and outreach and policy. And I'll go through these a little bit quickly because there's a fair number of them. But next slide gets into the data recommendations, which include a maintenance request portal, regional planning and coordination, so providing technical assistance to implement the network, supporting active transportation counts, coordinating planning and design support, near miss reporting for safer streets. And then on the next slide, we get into design recommendations, which include uniform design standards, consistency checklist to document bikeways receiving funding, or to ensure that bikeways receiving funding or technical assistance comply with a low stress bikeway standard, road safety audits, and then regional wayfinding to help make the BBR network easier to navigate. And then on the next slide, we get into the policy recommendations, which include assisting in development and adoption of complete streets policies, plan coordination, incorporating the BBR network projects in state and roadway safety improvements, ensuring that public transit allows bicycles and facilitates transfers, and then bikeways and bus stop interactions. So building upon the MDOT MTA bus stop design guideline to see if there are any updates that would be useful for the region, and then examining facilities on state controlled rights of way. The next slide, more policy recommendations include bike parking, which came up a lot from the public. We didn't expect that to be mentioned so much by the public. Bike rack distributions, inclusive maintenance of traffic, or MOT, and then local plan coordination and private development coordination. The next slide is outreach and education recommendations. So these include a Bikeable Baltimore Region working group or some kind of group to kind of help oversee the network implementation and explore ways to advance it. There would also be transparent tracking, so that includes the performance measures mentioned earlier, and those could be publicly shared online and with our committees. Other recommendations include the regional bike user wayfinding, and then school and safe routes to school programs, so supporting those programs throughout the region. So next slide. Next, we looked at network benefits. So we can go to the next slide for that one. So we know that building out the full Plan BBR network would have a transformative impact on the way people live and work across the Baltimore region. Using a cost benefit analysis guidance developed by the US DOT, we quantified what the annual benefit of a full BBR network would be in select categories. So these numbers were driven largely by projected new biking demand from residents living within 3 miles of planned bike lanes and paths, which is about a 15-minute bike ride, which we know is the typical most common length of bike trips. So we estimated where significant existing bike activity is strong and where many short trips already occur and where it may increase. So estimated annual network benefits include 31.7 million additional bike trips, 95,000 new bike trips per day, and 9.74 million fewer vehicle miles traveled. And then on the next slide, we looked at the specific benefit categories included environmental sustainability, so reducing emissions, quality of life, including improved health and lower mortality from increased physical activity, economic competitiveness from lower transportation costs and congestion costs, and then state of good repair or roadway maintenance. So we estimated, based on modeled bike trip data, and these were adjusted for further accuracy for shared use paths using an adjustment factor. These benefits calculated comparing what's happening now versus what is projected to happen. So that would create the kind of numbers on the benefits analysis. And then next slide. It was estimated to have 121.9 million in annual benefits, with 1.27 million from environmental sustainability, 113.3 from quality of life, which is the largest category, 6.31 million from economic competitiveness, and 1.02 from state of good repair benefits. So next slide. We also want to recognize safety benefits from the network. We know that separating biking from vehicle traffic makes travel safer and reduces crash risk. And so the BBR network will create safe, comfortable, and connected bikeways to help prevent crashes. Crashes are devastating for people and have devastating economic impacts. In 2017, national crashes led to 865 deaths and 78,700 injuries, with an estimated $5.6 billion in costs. So we know serious and fatal crashes are preventable, and even one life lost is too many. By having a connected regional network and targeted safety improvements, can save lives by providing safer routes for people of all ages and abilities. So next slide. Next steps include, let's go to that next slide, sorry. In September, we actually presented this kind of informational presentation overview to the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board. And we presented to BPAG before that. We will continue discussing BBR initiatives with BPAG, focusing on cross-jurisdictional coordination and engagement with the advocates and public. We're presenting today the BBR plan to you all. And then in November, we'll present the resolution to Tech Committee and BRTB. And once that is completed, release the BBR plan webpage and the story map with the interactive maps to the public. Ongoing, We will, of course, promote the plan and continue to coordinate with BPEG and our other committees to advance the network. And one specific example is the Unified Planning Work Program project, updating local plans per the BBR. So this is an opportunity to partner with our local jurisdictions as they update their local plans, to then also look at some of those network gaps that I mentioned earlier, areas where there aren't existing or planned bikeways but could provide good connections. And then the high stress bikeways, which are areas that could potentially be reconsidered to create lower stress connections. So we anticipate coordination with Baltimore City and Howard County for fiscal year 2026, as they are both updating their local plans. We'll continue to work with additional jurisdictions to participate in future fiscal years, coordinating with them as they update their plans, so that we can work together to advance the BBR network. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlene. Are there any questions?
This is Steve Cahoon with Queen Anne's County, and I just had a comment that I want to encourage everybody to take a look at this plan and to look at the maps and share it with other people in your county. A lot of hard work and a lot of, as you can see, a lot of information is in this plan, and a lot of hard work's gone into this. And this is really a plan that helps us, like in Queen Anne's County and other counties. I know we look at our jurisdiction and our boundaries, but this plan looks beyond our boundaries and how we can make connections and how we can work together to make a regional network. So I think this plan is a large step forward for active transportation in the region, and encourage everybody to take a look at it and a look at the maps. And I want to thank Charlene for all the hard work she's put into this. I think this is a really good product that came out of this planning process, and I encourage everybody to take a look at it and share it with other people in your county. So thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions or comments?
No, and just Angie, to reiterate what Charlene said, we talked about the whole BBR to the board a couple weeks ago, but the idea was to focus on policy. And today with the technical committee, it was sort of the technical underpinnings. When we come to the resolution, we're anticipating one that is set up similar to the resolution for the Patapsco Regional Greenway. And we're going to ask members to accept the Bikeable Baltimore region and its recommendations. So if you all have any questions, you'll get this presentation. We'll post it online, hopefully later today. But if you have any questions before the resolution comes, Charlene and Mariam and a lot of people put a lot of work into it, and we're happy to answer questions and try to resolve anything that may come up before the vote. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Regina. The next technical committee meeting will be held on November 4th, and it will be virtual. Is there any other business to come before the committee?
We do not have any.
Thank you. I'd now like to ask for a motion to close the meeting.
Baltimore City moves.
Thank you, Sean from Baltimore City.
And Howard County seconds that motion.
Thank you, Dave